Hot 101, it's the JDub Show. Big event coming up here in Youngstown, June 30th, the SummerSlam Heatwave Tour, rolling through Youngstown, Ohio, and I'm blessed on the phone right now, Roman Reigns. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I didn't even do anything to you, and I already blessed you. We're off to a good start.
All I can say is I'm just going to run down the stats. WWE Tag Team Champion, WWE United States Champion, WWE 3-time Heavyweight Champion, a Royal Rumble winner, and, of course, 7-time Slammy Award winner. It's a pretty impressive resume, Roman. I mean, I can't lie.
I've done a few things in my time, you know what I mean? I usually don't talk about it too much, but sometimes you got to remind fools, you know, what your resume is, and I had to do that this Monday to Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. So hopefully I don't have to go into my Rolodex of accomplishments to remind some of these dudes what's what.
And, of course, like you already said, this past week on Monday Night Raw, you already had a big fight with Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. I mean, these guys don't understand what you've done. I mean, coming from the Shield, and, of course, your resume, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, well, I think that just kind of goes to show the competition and, what kind of superstars we have around the WWE at this point. You know, we've kind of made this huge collection of world travelers and guys all over the world. Speaking about Samoa Joe, guys like AJ Styles, the list is just continually going on. Shinsuke, just a lot of guys with a lot of experience. But we also have, the opportunity to get, and not to use his moniker, but monster-like human beings like a Braun Strowman, who may not necessarily have all the wrestling experience, but he's got a whole list of physicality experience. I mean, this guy was a former strongman. You just don't meet humans like him that often. Before him, the biggest guy, we have is Big Show. And, I mean, he is a legitimate giant. And we haven't seen much like him since Braun Strowman. And I think Strowman has done a good job of, enforcing his will and, showing everybody what he's all about.
Well, like you said, I feel like the WWE has evolved on multiple platforms with the WWE Network and, of course, all of the wrestlers and all of the divisions now, of course, with the women, the 205. Let me ask you this. How does it feel to have the company put so much faith into you, Roman, as a wrestler and give you that push?
There's a lot of different emotions that go into it. You know what I mean? Obviously, very grateful. I'm very proud. To have the opportunity and not only, to be called upon, but to answer the call. It's a two-way street. And, a lot of people can make, any assessment or judgment that they want. But at the end of the day, when you're given an opportunity, you have to capitalize. When you get the ball, you got to hit your head on the goalpost. And, I think that's what I've done. I've continually carried the rock. And, I think I've gotten in the end zone a few times. And for me, I'm just scratching the surface. That's one of the most impressive things to me is, God willing and with health, I can continue to do this at a high level. And, I feel like every single day, and a lot of this has come, at the hands of the WWE Universe, pushing me and, continually, holding me to that standard that the company's put me to. And it allowed me to learn fast and allowed me to learn how to swim very fast. It was either sink or swim. You know what I mean, or dance in the fire, and that's what I did. Is I made it back up, and I learned how to swim really quick. And now, with these opportunities, I feel that responsibility to pass it on. And we have guys who say this within Cesaro and Sheamus, who are, I believe, going to be there in Youngstown this Sunday. But they say they're the bar setters, and that's something that myself, along with the rest of the guys in the Shield, and Cesaro, he's a great example of, another guy who's just like that. Same with Sheamus being a multi-time world champion, is that whenever you get pushed to that point, it's on you to bring everybody up. So whether, you believe you're the bar setter or the standard bearer, it's on everybody to compete at a high level. And that way we can raise our performance up and spread the word more about WWE and all the different things that we do in our product.
I feel like I followed your career from the start, Roman, when you guys were presented in the Shield. Can you tell me a little bit how the Shield was formed with you, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, and how it all came together?
And to be honest, man, it was like a blur. And, especially over the past 5 years, like looking back on it now, it feels like it's, like we're talking about Egyptian, history here or something. It feels like it happened so long ago. But It was just kind of something, we were all individual performers. Seth and Dean, they had gone at it for quite a bit down in what we called developmental. At the time, it was FCW, which is now known as NXT. But the NXT brand has blown up, greatly. But it just really happened. I think we were just three individuals that were kind of picked, by the higher ups, being, Vince McMahon and Triple H. I know CM Punk had a small, hand in there. He had a little bit to do with it as far as, bringing up, some guys for his protection. But I think, and those guys were mainly Seth and Dean that he was looking at. Me and myself, I was kind of plucked out of developmental and put in the group. But I think once Hunter and Vince saw us all together, he knew we were going to be a lot more than just security for another superstar. I think they all knew that they had three legitimate single stars, and from there, it was no longer being just security for CM Punk or just being in cahoots with Paul Heyman. We were a legitimate faction and a force to be reckoned with.
Watching the transition now from the Shield to all of you performing under your own brands, it's absolutely phenomenal. Amazing. And now you have all the accolades to back up your career. And of course, leading into SummerSlam, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Brock Lesnar. I mean, this is going to be an incredible match. And of course, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be rooting for you to bring home the title.
I think this is where, WWE really shines. And no offense to any other form of entertainment, but I'm a firm believer in heavyweights. I'm a firm believer in, when boxing was the biggest of all time, the heavyweight division was special. Same with, UFC, and I think, in MMA, and I think we have a guy who has a lot of responsibility for some of that, being Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? He's such a big name in the fight world. But whenever he made his debut at UFC, and when he went on his run and, he carried that title for a while, it was pretty hot. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was a lot of buzz about UFC and a lot of buzz about Brock Lesnar. So I just think, what we have within the WWE product, we're able to give you like fantasy warfare. Like you just don't see too often, a matchup like this. You have a couple Island Boys in there. You have a mammoth ogre, and then you have one of the greatest, mixed martial artists, of all time, being Brock Lesnar, and a man who is legitimate and can crush your face with his fists. You just don't get that type of matchup every single day. So I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be in Brooklyn. I'm proud to represent WWE in SummerSlam. And the key is to just walk away with that Universal title. Ask me how I'm going to do it. I couldn't give you an answer, but I know I have the ability to get it done.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers for you, my man. I know I only got a few more minutes with you. Can you talk about retiring The Undertaker? I mean, WrestleMania was just a spectacle in itself, but the fact that you, the big dog, retired The Undertaker and took over the yard. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that kind of ties back into, the opportunities and what's it feel like. And that's, when I say it's kind of mixed emotions, it is. That was one of the hardest things I've had to do, in my career is, to be placed with that responsibility of, like you said, retiring The Undertaker. And, for me at first, it was business as usual. I've been given a few tall tasks, and I've risen to the occasion. And that was my whole thing was, if this is how it's going to go down, I just want to do it, with the utmost respect, and just give him the best last ride that he possibly could have. And I think we were able to go do that. We had a great house, It was a great event. It's WrestleMania, but it was real heavy. That's the thing. Like down in NXT, boys and girls, they're not going to teach you how to, take that on emotionally, how to retire one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. So that's something that you just kind of got to learn as you go. And that's just one thing that I've always, been able to do is just pick up stuff fast. But like I said, man, it was the heaviest moment of my career. Just the responsibility of it, what it meant. I mean, The Undertaker is known as the godfather of this business. So for me to take over and, to claim the yard, I'm very proud of that. I not only represent myself, but my family. We come from a rich tradition in wrestling. The Hawaii wrestling family has been, here for decades. So I plan to continue to steer this ship in the right way and I guarantee I'm not going to be the last on white that you see in a wrestling ring for sure.
Well, a wrestler, a husband, a father. I do have to commend you not only for being a major role model, but really being a father. Tell us a little bit about the father campaign that you guys have rolling right now with you and your daughter, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's the Fatherhood Ad Council. Me and my daughter were fortunate enough to do that a few years, maybe 2 to 3 years ago. And I'm just so proud of her, to be able to go out there and do it. I mean, she had a legit work day. It was an 8-hour day just to shoot, 2 minutes of a commercial. But she killed it. She did, amazing. She didn't complain. There was like one moment where you could tell, man, she looks a little hungry and she looks like she's going to get pissed. But I let her go out and, hit the snack table, and then there was a little park right across the street. She did 15 minutes of playing, and then she came right back to work and knocked it out. But that's, the biggest, role in my life. I like to think that, anytime I've faced any type of adversity, I just picture my kids' faces, and, I just, no matter what it is, how hard it is, I know I can do it for them. So, no matter the task or the responsibility or whatever's put on my plate, I know I can handle it because I know my purpose. The first time I saw my daughter, when she was born, I think most men and women, who are parents can agree with this. I knew exactly who I was and what I needed to do for the rest of my life. It gave me legitimate purpose. And that's what happened. I have 2 new twins. They're little boys. They're almost 9 months. And, they came in doubles this time. So there's no question for me now. I know exactly what I'm here to do. I'm here to preserve this kingdom that I built for my family and, just continue to push, for our future and God willing that we're all healthy and we can live happy, healthy lives. That's the key.
WWE Superstar Roman Reigns is on the phone with me right now. Again, thank you so much for being such a positive role model. And, of course, the SummerSlam Heatwave Tour rolling through Youngstown, Ohio. Tell us what we can expect.
I'm bringing the big fight, man, and it's a perfect day. It's not televised, but Sunday is usually that's the day reserved for the big fight. And, who better to go against than Braun Strowman? So anytime you put me and Braun Strowman in the same arena, anything can happen. I think we've seen him flip ambulances. We've seen me crash ambulances. Let's just say this: don't bring an ambulance to the arena, otherwise it might go down. But there's a whole lot of good wrestling. We have some cruiserweights that are going to be there. We have the best women's wrestling in the whole world. We'll have Sasha, Bayley, the champ Alexa will be there. The rest of the Shield will be there, being Dean and Seth. The Miz will be there with his entourage. So we have a nice setup, really nice show, a nice card with a lot of talent. So Youngstown, I don't care if you're busy, full up on Sunday, make a little pocket in there. Come see WWE. You won't regret it, guaranteed.
Roman, I'm sorry I have to do this. I have to give love where love is due. Got to give a big shout out to the Ohio boy, The Miz, and of course my wife's not going to be happy with this one, but super hot and very talented women's WWE champion, Alexa Bliss.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the best part of traveling and getting to go to different regions and different states is you really see the small world of entertainment and how, it's just a small circle. And we have those ties. We have those roots, those Ohio roots, and those performers who, and there's nothing like being in your home state or your hometown. You really want to go out there and just, shred it up and give your best and give everything to the audience. So it's going to be a great show, no doubt. Hopefully a great loop all the way, and we'll wrap it up with some nice TV on Monday night.
Roman, I'm going to close with this. You're welcome in my yard anytime.
I appreciate that. Now, let's just keep it civil. If you open your fridge for me, there won't be any quarrel.
Thanks again for your time, my man. You want to send me out?
What's up? This is WWE Superstar, the big dog, Roman Reigns, and you listen to JDub on Hot 101.